Hello everybody, Lake Station Community Advocate and Educator here, back again. You guys know I love quotes. But before I get there, go check out Lake Station Strong Towns Collective on Facebook, Lake Station Strong Local Conversations, and soon YouTube and website. But I wanted to go through because you guys know that I'm doing a multi-part series or a multi-part thing on Tif districts and what's going on, and it kind of makes a little more sense the more I keep researching, the more it makes sense, and I'm putting puzzle pieces together within our community. But I want to focus on my quote here, which is, the only people who are mad at you for speaking the truth are those people who are living a lie. Keep speaking the truth. Now obviously speaking truth, and it really does upset a lot of people, but I want to touch on Tif districts. So how do Tif districts work, right? And in my first video, you'll see it says Tif district. Go check that out. But there's three types of people. The first one is those are people who know what a Tif is, right? Simply. Then there are people who love it and love to use it as a tool for, like, this is the only thing that's going to save our town tool. And then there are these people, and sometimes they overlap, that they use it as a tool to basically punish the future political replacements. So if they get into office and they promise all these things, they technically can't promise all these things because they're locked into paying for TIFs. So there's really no actual growth. So it's like, haha, we tricked you. But I wanted to touch on those things. So basically what happens is the city sets aside a portion of town, and basically it's for development. And it could be new, it could be empty lots, it could be tearing down old homes, old buildings, whatever the case is. But they set aside a small part of the city, and which will be called the Tif District, right? At a request of, let's say, a developer, a company, a corporation, things like that. And basically, when they come in, that development happens, property values go up. We all know that, right? And so taxes get higher. Sounds good in truth, but it really ain't. So there's two streams of taxes, which is base value, right? Things for like schools, fire departments, police departments, road parks, things like that, and they slowly, incrementally rise with what goes on around the neighborhood. The other one is a tax increment. It actually does not and cannot be used for certain things, but it's used specifically to pay off the subsidies or the loans within the Tif district. So let's say a company comes in, gives you, let's say, $10 million, $20 million, you can't put the money on anything other than that debt. So no school, no fire department, no police department, no roadways, no playgrounds, no parks, no none of that stuff. You have to pay off the TIFs first. And those paybacks can last 10, 15, 25, 30, maybe even 50 years. And they can't overlap, and you can get more than one. And so before you pay those off, you're going to have a lot of years go by. So I ask you, if you will not be here in those 15, 20, 30, maybe even 50 years, who cares, right? But what about the town that you say you love and that you would love to see do better? How about your kids? How about your grandkids? How about your great-grandkids? You want to leave them in a massive amount of debt that they can't get out of? Leaving them with debts because administrators mismanaged and misappropriated the assets, the resources, and the land usages, because that's what happens within a TIF district. So the schools, the playgrounds, fire department, police department, empty lots, and all those things start to starve out. Why? Because you have to pay back the TIF district. So they usually get neglected. And quite frankly, mostly they get neglected. Now, of course, states regulate these TIFs, and I'll get more into that as I go along. And they say for how long, okay? And they must report this to the state, the cities do, and so on. But how do they work, right? Basically, TIFs are to pay for public infrastructures. Things, like demolishing buildings, empty lots, old houses, decontaminating soils, or soil remediation, I should say, and things like that. And some of the soft cost, okay, but things like just land surveying and just little minuscule things. But in a nutshell, what it does is it basically captures community property taxes, right? And then it diverts that money specifically, because now you have a massive amount of debt from the corporation or company or developer that came in. You now have to take all the money that goes for all of those things, and it gets focused specifically on the new development or whatever TIF bond that the city has set up with the developers and so on. So again, the local public services and things like that are not going to get the specific said taxes and the payouts and things of that nature. So I kind of wanted to touch on that because, and it takes a financial banker to really run through the courses on this. And I'm going to get pretty deep into things as I go along, because this is only part one. Well, I should say technically part two, but really part one. And I'm going to get deeper into like the power, where the money goes, who gets it, and what they do with it. I'm going to get into that next. And like I said, always compare and contrast these things and what I say. Research it for yourself. Go look for it. Observe, compare and contrast within our own community. And you'll start to find these behaviors and these things going on, and it kind of starts to make more sense why code enforcement's so adamant and why code enforcement says that your property is blighted. We'll get to that. But stay with me for part number 2. Be the change you want to be the change you want to see. Be an eagle, don't be a crow. Challenge the status quo, because if you don't, you'll never know what we can achieve on our own or with others around us, and for our neighborhood for the long run in the future and for their children and grandchildren. Let's not leave them a TIF debt. And, hey, hold the administrators accountable, transparent, some honesty, some truthfulness, and integrity. I'm the Lake Station Community Advocate. Go check out Lake Station Community Strong Towns Collective on Facebook, Lake Station Strong Local Conversations on Facebook, soon to be Lake Station Strong Towns Collective on YouTube, and soon to be a website. So stay with me.